Hello students, let us start today the female reproductive system. In female, there is a pair of ovary which is embedded inside, and as you can see the uterus is in between, contains cervix and the vagina. As as you can see, the vagina which is joined the cervix from outside is actually the birth canal, or you can say the sperms is released in the vagina, and the sperms has to travel all the way to the fallopian tube uh, for the fertilization of the ova. Now, after the ovary when releases ova, actually it gets a hormone, and the hormone produces two types of it. They are estrogen and progesterone. Now both these produces the hormones, and then they produces the ova, which is also called egg, from either of the ovaries. Now after the release of ovary, it will go to the fallopian tube. Now student, let us see the four phases of the ovary, how they functions. Now first stage is the menstrual phase. Suppose the ova is waiting for fertilization and it is not fertilized, then what happens? They shed in the formation of what is it, the formation of blood, and that takes for 2 to 3 days. That is called the menstrual phase. Then inside the ovary, as you can see, there is a written developing follicles. It is actually because of the estrogen they started making a Graafian follicles, and it takes from day 5th to 12 to 13 days after the formation of the ova. It is released, which is called the ovulatory phase. In 12 or 13 days, it is released over there, which is taken by a finger-like structure called fimbriae. You can see where some structure is coming out from there. This is called fimbriae, which catch hold of the ova, and they take it into the fallopian tube. Now, in the fallopian tube, what happened? Progesterone keeps on secreting over there, making a wall in the ova, uh, and it will continue to do so till 28 days, which is called as the luteal phase. Now, if one sperm comes over there from the vagina, travels there to the fallopian tube, and it is fertilized, then immediately a zygote is formed, and after fertilization it will move to the uterus. And if it does not fertilize, the same phase starts again, called the menstrual phase. Then again ova from the, say, either of the place, the ova will mature, say, from 5 to 12 days around. Again estrogen will be secreted, and that is this process is called oogenesis, and fimbriae catches this, that is called ovulatory stage. And then it goes to the fallopian tube. Again it will produce progesterone, so to make the wall, so that uh, give a protection to the future baby. Now you can see the internal structure of how the oogenesis takes place inside the ovary. That is where estrogen is produced over in this phase, which is called is the follicular phase. Now, after that, you can see the fallopian tube. It travels to the fallopian tube. After the fertilization, it will move to the uterus. Now, how does it moves to the uterus? You can see after the fertilization, this goes into the uterus, and a zygote is formed. Now, in zygote, in the uterus, what happens? In the uterine, there are numerous microvilli which starts getting attached to the mother's womb, and this is called the human embryonic development. Now the zygote formations takes place continuously, and after that what happens? They get embedded into the umbilical cord, to the mother's uterus wall. Now, this baby which is growing inside contains a lot of amniotic fluid, where even if there is, it work as a shock absorber Even if a lady falls down or something, it does not happen anything to the children, because a lot of amnion fluid and chorionic, human chorionic gonadotropin are released, so that what happens, the baby is taken care inside. Now this umbilical cord is connected to the mother, and the mother gives the nourishment to the child, like oxygen and food, and carbon dioxide and the waste products are also taken out from the umbilical cord to the mother. And finally, it takes around 280 days for a human baby to grow, and finally it leads to a baby in 280 days, normally 280 days, or we can say 9 months. This is how the female fertilization takes place. Thank you.